Hello everyone, and welcome back to AP Bio with AP Playground. Today we're covering topic 7.2, Natural Selection. In 7.1 we introduced the concept of natural selection, and we're going to be building on it in 7.2, discussing of the importance of phenotypic variation and how the variation in molecules can also connect to the fitness of an organism. And our suggested skill is Concept Explanation 1B, Explain Biological Concepts and Processes. So, reviewing the theory of natural selection is the method by which evolution works, by which descent with modification happens. So, as new generations of a population are born, how the overall genetic makeup of a population changes over time. And natural selection states that individuals with certain inherited traits, meaning traits that can be passed down between generations, survive and reproduce at higher rates in an environment because of those traits. And those traits that help an organism to reproduce, those are known as adaptations. And this is going to lead to descent with modification because those advantageous traits are quote unquote selected by nature, allowing those individuals to survive and reproduce, and eventually the population will change over time to reflect the amount of reproduction that those individuals are able to do. So if we look over here, we see three different giraffes of varying neck lengths, and only the giraffe with the long neck is going to be able to reach the leaves at the top of the tree. The giraffes with the short necks are not going to be able to get the resources that they need, and as a result they are not going to be able to reproduce. And so what happens over time, as the tall giraffes, the giraffes with tall necks are able to reproduce, the population of giraffes is going to start having more individuals with tall necks because those are the individuals that are reproducing, and over time the population will change in genetic makeup to be primarily of tall-necked individuals so that they can get the resources they need to survive. And we can also see this over here with these mice. The black mice are able to camouflage well, but the beige colored mice are not able to do so. And so the beige colored mice are going to be eaten by the bird, and the black colored mice will be able to survive and reproduce. And so their color is the advantageous trait that allows them to survive. And they're selected by nature in the sense that they are the ones that will be able to reproduce. And so natural selection will change the genetic and phenotypic, so both the genes and the outward appearance of a population over time. Individuals do not evolve, populations evolve. So the group of individuals over time will have a change in the overall genetic makeup. And a population is a group of individuals of the same species that live together and interbreed. So natural selection acts on genetic/phenotypic variation. Without variation, natural selection cannot occur, because in order for natural selection to occur, there must be certain traits that are advantageous within a population that allow organisms to survive and reproduce better. And so by having a lot of variety within the population in outward appearance and by extension within the genome, that means that those individuals are then going to be the ones to survive and reproduce. And the other important note is that environments do change over time, and as a result of a changing environment, the individuals that have the best adapted traits for the environment also change. So now new natural selection will occur for the traits that are now best adapted for the environment, because each environment brings its own challenges, and there are certain traits that are going to be advantageous for it. And so higher genetic variation within a population increases the chances of that population's survival, because having a large variation means there's a higher chance that one of those individuals is going to have the traits which allow it to survive and reproduce within that new environment, which will then contribute to the population's growth over time. And an example of this is changes in flowering time due to climate change, which is our environmental change. So flowers react more to temperature, and they're going to bloom earlier because there's global warming going on, climate change. And so that's going to disrupt pollinator and flower relationships. And flowers and pollinators, which have the traits that allow survival in this changed environment, are the ones that are going to be able to reproduce. So if this relationship is disrupted because the time frames aren't matching up, the flowers are blooming too early, the pollinators and the flowers that are able to then reestablish the relationship within the new environment are the flowers that are then going to be able to survive and reproduce in that environment. We're going to talk about a few examples of evolution and natural selection over here, starting with DDT resistance. And this is a pesticide. And some insects in a population have a mutation which allows them to survive being sprayed with pesticide. And so when plants are sprayed with pesticide and insects are killed, the insects that have the mutation that allows them to survive DDT, then those are the insects that are going to reproduce. And eventually the population will become resistant over time because it is these DDT resistant organisms that are reproducing within the population. Another example is sickle cell anemia, which is a trait that makes your blood cells look like sickles. So they're going to look a little bit like this, and that's going to block the blood flow within your body. But it's going to continue to be selected for because it gives the people that have it an advantage, not people that have full sickle cell anemia. Those have an issue with surviving and reproducing, but those heterozygous, not fully recessive for sickle cell anemia, but heterozygous, meaning some of their blood cells are sickled, but others are normal shaped, they have an advantage because sickle cell trait offers protection against malaria. And so in environments where there's a lot of malaria, people are going to continue to survive and reproduce when they are heterozygous for sickle cell anemia. And so they're going to have the anti-malaria benefits, and they're not going to succumb to sickle cell anemia. And as a result, sickle cell anemia will continue to be passed down throughout generations within the population. So there you have it. Natural selection requires genetic and phenotypic variation to act on, and over time, advantageous traits will allow organisms to survive and reproduce, changing the genetic makeup of a population. This was 7.2 Natural Selection. We'll see you in 7.3.